Blumenauer actually on the list is not.
Mr. Speaker, I also want to congratulate Nancy Pelosi and wish her the very best. But the issue that I wanted to focus on is a very important piece of legislation which is going to surface tomorrow, and that is the issue of how Congress responds to the huge tax breaks that the President and the Republican leadership have given to the wealthiest 1% of the population. Mr. Speaker, this country has a $6 trillion national debt. And for the first time now in several years, we are running a deficit. Mr. Speaker, despite all of the great speeches here about lockboxes and our great love for Social Security, everybody understands that Congress is now dipping into and raiding the Social Security fund. Further, Mr. Speaker, most people in this country understand that we have many enormous social needs. In my state of Vermont, every week when I go out and speak to senior citizens, they demand of me that Congress do something about the outrageously high cost of prescription drugs and the fact that we do not have a strong prescription drug benefit under Medicare. Mr. Speaker, what the issue tomorrow is going to be about is, do we give huge tax breaks to the wealthiest people in this country? 40% of the president's tax breaks go to the wealthiest 1%. People who have a minimum income of $370,000 a year and average over $1 million a year in income. So the choice that Congress faces, do you give huge tax breaks in the future to those people, or do you provide a strong prescription drug benefit under Medicare? Mr. Speaker, not only is the President and the Republican leadership not going to provide a strong prescription drug benefit under Medicare, in fact, in many ways, they're going to cut back on Medicare. At a time when we need to strengthen Social Security, at a time when we need to raise the COLA, the President and the Republican leadership are dipping into the Social Security Trust Fund. Mr. Speaker, let's get our priorities right. I speak to veterans virtually every week in the state of Vermont. We have many town meetings. And what they tell me is that when they apply for a benefit, it takes 6, 7, 8, 10 months for them to get that benefit processed. And the reason is that in many instances, the Veterans Administration is understaffed and is unable to process those claims. Is it more important to give tax breaks to millionaires and billionaires, or is it more important to make sure that our veterans get the benefits to which they are entitled? Mr. Speaker, just this last week, a couple of days ago, there was a front-page story in the New York Times which talked about how middle-class parents are finding it harder and harder to pay for the college costs of their kids. The average American young person graduating a four-year college ends up $20,000 in debt, excluding the debt incurred and the growing debt incurred by their parents. Is it more important to protect the middle class and make sure that the young people of this country can go to the college that they want, and do that by significantly expanding Pell Grants and other financial aid programs, or is it more important to give tax breaks to millionaires and billionaires, the people who provide huge campaign contributions to members of this Congress and the White House? Mr. Speaker, all over this country, we are facing a disaster in terms of child care. Working families are unable to find affordable, quality child care. We have people who are paying too much and getting too little, and the children are suffering. And yet the federal commitment to child care is minimal. Is it more important that we take care of the youngest children in the society and protect working families who want quality child care for their kids, or is it more important that we give huge tax breaks to the wealthy and the powerful? Mr. Speaker, in my state, all over this country, there is a terrible housing crisis. Bottom line is, let us repeal the tax breaks for the richest 1%. Let's lower the deficit, and let's take care of the middle class of this country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The chair recognizes the gentlewoman from California, Ms. Sanchez.
Can you go down the list very quickly?
Chair recognizes